Hello everyone. I created a simple platformer game template using Arcade, and I'm going to show you the game, and then I'm going to walk you through the code to actually show you how it works. So we have this simple character, and I didn't add any animations to the game because I wanted to make it as simple as possible. So the character can move left and right, and it can also jump, and the character's X position is clumped to the left and to the right edge of the map, so it cannot go outside the map. And I also added this scrolling view, so we have a 2D view, or also called camera, and this camera follows the player. And when the player gets to the edge of the map, the camera following just stops. And when the player or the character is in the middle of the screen, the 2D view or the camera starts to follow it. So, and we also have these collectible coins, and here in the upper left corner it shows how many collected coins we have. So now we have 3 and 4, and the 5th is here. And as you can see, when the character is on the right edge of the map, the 2D viewport just stops moving, and when the character goes to the middle of the screen, the camera starts to follow. So this is a very simple game. I also uploaded the code and all the assets, so the TSX and the tiled maps, and also the sprites to my GitHub. And I'm going to add this link to the video description. Here is the platformer template.py, here are the maps and the images. So before I start to explain the code, I just want to give you one information. I'm still using Arcade version 2.0.9, although Arcade was recently released, Arcade version 2.1.2, but I upgraded it to this version, but it looks like it only supports Python version 3.7. I'm just going to show you. If I'm going to the settings, and I'm going to make the project interpreter to this version, which has Arcade 2.1.3 installed. Apply and OK. If I want to run it, it just gives this error: no module named data classes. And these data classes were added to Python version 3.7. So I'm using Python version 3.6.8. So if you have this problem, make sure you install the Python version 3.7, or you just downgrade your Arcade version to 2.0.9. So I'm going to switch back to an earlier version, so which is 2.09, and apply and OK. And now it runs. So let me show you the code. So here I have some global variables. I have for the physics, I created a movement speed which is set to 8, I have jump speed which is set to 28, and I have gravity which is set to 1.1. I also have these map variables. So the map width is 40 tiles times 128. So each tile, I'm going to show you in the tile editor. So each tile, each of these sub-images is 128 by 128, and we have in this map 40 of these tiles horizontally. So if you go to the map and the map properties, it shows you that the map width is 40 and the map height is 7. So here 40 times 128, and the map height is 7 times 128, and the tile width, so the width of the each images is 128. And here I have a Windows width, which is 1280, and a Windows height, which is 896. And I also created this Windows half width, which is the Windows width divided by 2, integer division by 2. And let's go back for a second to the tile map editor. Here, this map has two layers. One is the ground, so the player is colliding with the ground and also with these grates. And in the second layer we have the coins, and the coins are the collectibles. And here in the My Game Window class, it just inherits from the arcade.window, and here I'm setting the Windows location to 400 and 100, so it means that the window will appear from the upper left corner of your monitor or your screen, 400x and 100y to this position. And here I'm setting the background color to color black, and here I'm adding some member variables like the ground list, coin list, player sprite, and the physics engine, which are set to none. And I also created here a collected coins, which starts as 0. And then I'm calling the setup method, so this method. So when the My Game window is instantiated here, this setup method is automatically called. So let's go to the setup method. So in the setup method, I'm loading the map1.tmx file. So I'm creating a mymap object using the arcade.read tilemap. And in the maps folder, I have this mymap1.tmx, and if you open up the mymap1.tmx, it has two layers, the ground and the coins. So the ground and the coins, and these are compressed in base64 as a zlib compression. And of course you need also the mymap.tsx, which just points to the image sources. So I'm going to close these, and the second thing in this setup method, I'm setting the ground list equal to the arcade that generates sprite or sprites, and this generates sprites takes the mymap object, so this one, and it extracts the ground layer from this DSX file. And this is the scaling, so the scaling is set to 1. And then into the coins list, I'm setting it to also the arcade generated sprites, mymap, and the coins. And don't forget that this should be the same as it is named in your DSX, in the TMX file. So ground and coins, so as you named it here. Okay, so then in the setup method, I'm creating a player list using the arcade.sprites list, and I'm setting the player sprite to arcade.sprite, and I'm loading from the images folder the character.png, and this is the scaling, and the character is here, character.png, just a simple static character, so it has no animations. And here I'm setting the character's position, so with the player sprite that center X to 640 and the Y position to 350. And here I'm adding this player sprite to the player list with the player list.append method. And I'm also creating here the physics engine using the arcade.physics engine platformer. And if you go to the arcade documentation, if you scroll down, you will find here the physics engine module. So if you open this up, it has two classes. One is the physics engine simple, and we are using the physics engine platformer. So it has some methods like the is on ladder, can jump, enable multi-jump, disable multi-jump jump, increment jump counter, and the update. And I'm going to also add this page, this link to the video description. So let me go back. So if I open up, as you can see, the physics engine platformer, as the first argument, it takes a player sprite, a sprite object. So here I'm adding the cell.player sprite. The second argument is an arcade.sprite list. So this is the ground list. And it has this gravity constant, which is set to the gravity. So this global variable, which is 1.1. And yes, it has also another argument, which is the ladders, if you want to have in your game some ladders. And yeah, so this is how you set your physics engine platformer. And in the onDraw method, I'm just calling the arcade start render, which just clears out the color buffer bit, and also I think the depth buffer bit. And first I'm drawing the ground list, then the set.player list, then the set.coin list. And yeah, for now, and the last thing I'm drawing is the collected coins text, so which appears here in the upper left corner of the window. And to the column with the arcade draw text, and its first argument is a text we want to draw. So, and the second argument is the position, and so X and Y, and also its color, so it's arcade color gold, and the font size is 20. And here I'm just going to show you what happens if I delete these two, so the arcade.get viewport, and also here, and I'm just setting it to a static value of 10 and 866. So now the collected coins is okay, but when I move the character and the view changes, as you can see, the text just disappears so it just moves outside the screen. So that's why we need to always update here using the get viewport, and the get viewport returns the viewport rectangle, so as a tuple, and it has 4 values. So the 0th value, or the 0th index, is the left, the first index is the right of the viewport rectangle, the second index the second index is the bottom, and the third index is the top of the viewport rectangle. So here I'm adding the get viewport index 0 plus 10, and arcade.get viewport index 2, or this is which is the button, plus 866. So, and now the text always scrolls or moves with the viewport. And here I created also a clunk method, which just clumps a value between a minimum and a maximum. So, and in the onUpdate method, first thing I'm doing is updating the physics engine, so by calling the physics engine.update, and then I'm clumping the player's sprite X position to 0 and the map width, and the map width is here, so 40 times 128, which is 40 times 128, which is 5,120. And this clamp makes sure that the player never gets outside the map, so it just stops at the left edge, and also it stops at the right edge, so like here. If this creates a variant here, the player will stop somewhere here in this position, thanks to this clamp. And now, here is the logic for the viewport, I mean the 2D camera, or the moving the viewport. So here in the onUpdate method, I'm checking if the player, that sprite, that center X, which is its X position, is bigger than the Windows half width, which is 640. So if it is bigger and the player position X, or the center X, is less than the map width minus the tile width minus the Windows half width, then the change view is true. And this makes sure that the player, when its position is bigger than 640 and its position is less than this value, so the map width is here, so 5,120 minus the tile width, which is 128, so here it is, tile width 128, and minus the Windows half width, which is 640. So the map width, which is 5,120, minus the tile width, which is 128, and minus the Windows half width, so 4352. So this makes sure that when the character is between 640 and its X position is between 640 and 4352, then the change U will be true. Else, when character is outside of this range, the change U will be false. And here I'm asking if change U, then I'm calling the arcade.set viewport, and I'm setting it to player that center X, which is the position on X, minus the Windows half bit, so minus 640. So this is the left, this is the right, so player X position plus the Windows half bit. This is the bottom, which is always just 0, and the Windows height, which is 896. So this is the left, this is the right, this is the bottom, and this is the top of the viewport rectangle. And lastly, in the onUpdate method, I'm creating this coins hit list, so with using the arcade that check for collision with list. And this method takes as a first argument the player sprite and the coins list. And it will return a list with the collisions, so you can iterate through it. So for coin in coins list, if there is a collision between the player and the coin, first I'm going to just increment the collected coins by 1 and also kill the coin. So if you touch the coin, if you collide with it, it just kills it. So it just removes it. And as I said, it also increments the collected coins. And here in the onKey press 7, I'm just asking if the symbol is arcade.key right. I'm just changing the player's sprite change X. I'm setting the player's sprite change X variable to movement speed, and the movement speed is a global which is set to 8. And if the symbol is key left, then I'm setting the player's change X to negative movement speed. And if the symbol is arcade key up, then I'm adding another check if the cell.physics engine that can jump, which just checks if the player is on the ground. So if the player is in the air, then this will return false, so to actually prevent double jumps. And if it is true, that it means that the player is on the ground. So in that case, in this player sprite, the change in Y will be set to the jump speed, which is 28. And in the onKey release, I'm just make sure that if the left or the right key is released, the change in X will be set to 0. And yeah, so this is a very simple game template, platformer game template, and as I said, it is on my GitHub page, and you can download it and you can play with it if you want. So it also has the TSX and the TMX files and also the images.